Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
He needs care and treatment.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Is this a great country or what?
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Means we're brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Good to be back. Appreciate Taylor Sharp and the crew for holding things down last week while we were away on a little bit of a vacation. It was a ton of fun. We had a great time, played a little golf, got a little sun, had a few drinks, ate some good food. And we're home and ready to get back to work here for a couple weeks, and we'll head off to SEC Media Days in Tampa. And that really, for us professionally, maybe not for a lot of people as fans, but for us professionally, really kickstarts the next school year there at the end of July, or that point where the Saints are starting camp, and LSU will be a week away at that point. So there are 2 more weeks of a little bit of a malaise before we're really full steam ahead, but glad to be back for this one. We'll get ready for the MLB draft coming up this weekend. That'll be very, very impactful for the LSU baseball programs. We'll talk about that as the week progresses. And then there's obviously some World Cup to talk about. Chris Lowe ranked the SEC quarterbacks 4 on 3. There was a list on ESPN of the best college football players of all time by jersey numbers. I went through them for LSU guys, LSU runners-up, and players that I've seen in person. Get into a little bit of that. Maybe do a little stock up, stock down, vacation style in the second hour as well. And I promise you this, I mentioned the World Cup. Y'all know I'm not a soccer guy. I won't proclaim to be a soccer guy. I don't really know a lot about soccer. I can't name one guy on our soccer team, I don't think, even though there's one guy that's in the news because he's being reinstated. But I don't know what his name is. Can't spell it. Don't know it.
Balogun,
yeah, that's my guy. I don't know anything about soccer, but I did watch like 2.5 games over the weekend. Did not watch any while we were at the beach. Like, that was not going to happen. But 2.5 games over the weekend. I have a soccer segment from a non-soccer guy with some good. There is some good. I like some of this stuff. I'm not like 100% hater, but I've also got some bad, and I want to get to that too. So we'll do some of that coming up in about 30 minutes. So we're going to start with a little bit of the news from the end of last week that I obviously wasn't here for. I wrote about it at LouisianaSports.net, but I do want to talk about it as we enter the week. So let's get started with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
So before I left on vacation, I checked in with LSU baseball and just to kind of see where they were in the portal process. And I knew that they were still courting pitching because you always need pitching, and LSU was a little bit short in the pitching department this past year. I think that's putting it lightly. And I asked source inside the program and said, are y'all still looking for some offense? Because you could see a scenario where they kind of had their first 9, right? And this is what I was told from a source inside the program, if it's the perfect fit. And then I got the indication that there was someone out there that they were looking at, and the term world tour was used. Like, this person's going to make some visits. We'll see what we can do. So I didn't get a name on it. That's a little bit closer to the vest. But I knew that there was a search out there, that there was a big fish possible. And you saw one at the end of the week with Angel Lyle. This is a potentially very, very impactful player. And every time I say that, I go back to this time last year where we were saying that about some guys that were not. And I realized that. And trust me, y'all, like I professionally took this past season very seriously, because for me to write and talk about that baseball team as glowingly as I did, like everyone else did, but I'm not in control of what Baseball America does or what they write at The Advocate or talk about on Channel 2 or talk about on YouTube. Like I'm not in charge of any of that stuff. I'm in charge of what I do. And for me to tell you how great that team was and how good those transfers were going to be and all, like, I'm going to use that the next time around and be a little bit guarded. So I'm not here to tell you that they just got the next Matt Clark, left-handed hitting 6'3" guy that hits at 500 feet. But I'm here to tell you this is potentially very impactful for next year's team. This is a mega talent, and that's something I continue to go back to with these transfer additions. Because as I said last week, as I said 2 weeks ago, as I said 3 weeks ago, the transfers that LSU brought in last year did not have big-time draft grades. But because of the success that LSU had with Tommy White, with Michael Braswell, with Chris Stanfield, with Daniel Dickinson, with Luis Hernandez, with guys from all different backgrounds, all different levels of college baseball, all different profiles, and LSU's just plugged them in, and boom, there they go. Gage Jump, coming off injury, doesn't matter. Boom. Paul Skeens, Air Force, comes in, boom. Luke Holman, SEC starter, comes in, boom. Like, they had such a high hit rate that I just kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt. Like, they like it. It's good. But those guys were not big draft prospects. You look at the transfers LSU's brought in this class, and they are big draft prospects. Bino Waters is a big-time draft prospect. Dawson Park is a legitimate draft prospect. And Angel Leia comes in as a legitimate draft prospect. This is a 6'3" left-handed bat who is going to be mocked in the way too early mock drafts for next year, or on the way too early big boards for next year in 2 years, is going to be looked at as a guy who could be a first-round pick. Now, that doesn't mean he will be a first-round pick, but he could be a first-round pick. You look at the numbers from Oregon this past year, 296, 14 home runs, 10 doubles, an OPS of 934, stole 4 bases, and has a monster arm in right field and is a good athlete. And if you consider the jump that players often make from year 1 to year 2 in college, and you consider a 6'3" frame that has plenty of room to add weight, and you consider LSU's infrastructure and their resources offensively that allowed really draftable prospects to blossom, like Tommy White, like Jake Brown, like Derek Curiel, like Jared Jones. Like, these guys have blossomed into elite players in this offensive system. This is a guy that could become one of the most feared hitters in the SEC. He has that potential. I mentioned earlier next year's draft. You're looking at the 2028 draft, 2 years from now, because he just finished his freshman year. He is, if I'm looking to project this based on him developing it as a sophomore, based on his exit velocities, his swing mechanics, what he looks like, plus allotting for an adjustment to Southeastern Conference pitching from the Big Ten, which is not nearly as good, I'm looking at a guy that I believe will be about a 300 hitter, that will probably strike out some, that will hit 15 home runs, and that will be a huge slugging threat between the number 2 and 6 holes in LSU's order. I think he's got a chance to be a star at LSU with those kind of tools. And I looked at what it could mean for a potential lineup for LSU. And keep in mind, this is vastly premature, but it just gives you a visual of this. I've got Wax at the leadoff spot and playing center field. I've got Aaron Beatty in the 2-hole, Waters in the 3-hole, Cerna in the 4-hole. So that's left, right. Then I've got Leia right there in the 5-hole between Omar Cerna and Stephen Milam. Mason Braun, Cade Curlin, and Dawson Park at the back end of the lineup. That is a force of a lineup when you consider some production at the college level already, but also draftability. Where you look at Wax, Aaron Beatty, Waters, Cerna, Leia, Milam, all those guys are guys that you would consider top 4 or 5 round guys. Doesn't mean they have to be, but you would consider them that. Braun, we'll see. He's positionless on defense and hasn't hit for the power yet. He's not tall either. Curland is not, but he's been an SEC high floor player. He's started at Florida for 3 years. And then Park is pretty draftable down there at the 9 spot for me. That's a legitimate lineup there that I think has been put together wonderfully. Candidly, I still have real concerns about LSU's pitching. I think that they have landed a really big fish from Gonzaga. I think getting Landon Hood to Baton Rouge is a big, big deal. And there is no question talent returning to that team, and we'll see what the draft holds this weekend. I'm going to do some more research on that from LSU's perspective. I'm going to write about that at LouisianaSports.net, and then we'll see how the draft plays out. To me, this is a championship caliber offense. It looks that way to me. I don't believe in its current state that LSU has championship level pitching right now. That's not to say that it won't become that. I sat here and badmouthed Oklahoma all May long, and they won. So that I'm aware of that. But I also cover LSU a little differently than Oklahoma and would rather have some more concrete evidence of high-level pitching in the program than go off, yeah, he wasn't that great last year, but he could be awesome. That part is that part. But as I look at LSU's roster right now, and you look at the transfer portal additions of Wax, Waters, Laya, Kurland, and Park, that's more than half of your offense for next year, very likely. And I think that's going to be a really, really impactful lineup. William Patrick will get his chance. And keep in mind, I wrote this over at LouisianaSports.net. He suffered a hand injury out in Healdsburg in the Pacific Empire League. So he's going to be down for the rest of the summer. That's a huge bummer for him. This is going to be a chance for him to get a ton of at-bats, and he was only really able to play for 3 weeks. But he'll be ready for fall ball, I'm told, and so we'll see how that shakes out. Jack Ruckert is going to be back, and that's a guy that is a capable defender who can compete for playing time, but you're going to have to deal with guys with more skins on the wall than you. Dawson Park and Kay Kurland have more skins on the wall than you on the infield. You got John Pearson there as well, who showed some pop this past year. And you've got some guys in there that create some depth. And we'll see kind of what the future holds for Eddie Yaman, who is playing well on Cape Cod right now, but did go through senior day. And I've kind of written him off as not going to be part of the program. I'll check on that as you get ready for the draft. There's a numbers issue that's going to have to be worked out for LSU here. But it's this is a big fit. And when you consider that the term perfect fit was tossed out to me before they got Laya in the boat, that's what this staff thinks of him, and trust their words over mine. That's what they do for a living. I'm just here to talk about it. So it's really exciting to see what they've done with this offense in the portal with draftable players, and this was kind of the cherry on top of the offense that I believe to be done at this point. They will love to get a couple of players through this MLB draft from a freshman perspective and add them into the program and see if you can't get one or two to pop, like Curiel did, like Stephen Milam did, like Omar Cerna did, like Mason Braun did. That's the type of player you attract at LSU. And you got Nate Davis to issue the draft. We'll talk about him a little bit later on in the show. But this is an awesome looking lineup on paper, and I anticipate it'll perform like that for the majority of next season. And Jay Johnson's teams have always hit. The team that was his first team wasn't great. They hit. The team that he just had was bad by LSU standards, and they did hit. You just got to have a little bit of a question mark off to the side about what LSU is going to be from a pitching perspective. So we'll see. I'll talk about it in hour number 2. All right, we're brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions every single Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. When we come back, Chris Lowe ranked the SEC quarterbacks. Where's Sam Leavitt come in that picture? We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Look, if you're an athlete, a weekend warrior, even parents on the sideline, this heat can sneak up on you. It probably won't. You'll probably notice it right when you walk out the door, but it can be sneaky in terms of how quickly it can start affecting your body. Hydration is just so important, not just in the summer, but year-round. You got to stay hydrated. That's essential for the overall health and performance when you're being active, especially outdoors. It plays a key role in how your body functions every single day. It can help support your energy, focus, recovery. In under an hour outside, drink 1 cup of water every 15 minutes. That can help you avoid peak heat hours if possible. If you're out longer than an hour, add some electrolytes to your drink. Aim for 2-to-1 water to sports drink ratio, so more water, get some electrolytes when you can. These are all great tips to keep you healthy and safe out there in these brutal summer months. That's all courtesy of our friends at Oxford, courtesy of our friends over at Oxford.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Every day we're brought to you by our friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at FabryChevrolet.com. That's FabryChevrolet.com. We, of course, just loaded up the crew head over to the beach if you're looking to do something similar and like a new ride. They can get you covered over there at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Great deals and offers on Chevy Tahoes and Silverados. Got the GMC Sierras and Yukons as well. Maybe you want to get behind the wheel of the big old truck. They've got you covered with the GMC Sierras as well as the they have plenty on the lot over there at Fabry Chevrolet GMC, including the Silverados, of course. So go by and see them. Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Highway 61 in St. Francisville. The entire inventory is online as well at FabryChevrolet.com. So you can start your buying process right there at FabryChevrolet.com. All right. Chris Lowe just put out a primer looking towards SEC Media Days in a couple of weeks, and he ranked the SEC quarterbacks 1 to 10. And got a lot of respect for Chris. He's covered the league for a long time, has great relationships with a lot of the coaches in people throughout the league. And so just taking a look at what he wanted to do, there are time and place for lists, and this is certainly one of those. And I wanted to see where he put Sam Leavitt on the list. So you start to roll through, and Trinidad Chambliss is at 1, and I don't have a huge problem with that. He had a phenomenal season. Arch Manning is number 2. I certainly don't have a problem with that as well. Interesting at 3, not where I would have gone immediately. I may not have watched enough last year. I told y'all all the time, I don't see as much SEC football as maybe some of you do because my work responsibilities cover a lot of the day on Saturdays. So Gunnar Stockton at 3 surprised me just a little bit because I just didn't think of him as having a monster year last year. They had a good year, and I certainly watched him play in person in the Sugar Bowl, but I just didn't have him as a top 3 quarterback in the SEC. John Mateer comes in at number 4. He was off to such a good start last year, and then the injury happened. That's going to be kind of the discussion about him. He had that nasty hand injury and then came back probably a little bit too soon. There's blood all over the uniform, and there was some really non-productive days. The Oklahoma offense that I watched was really bad last year in Norman. Their defense was just so good, and LSU had no chance to score. But Mateer comes in at 4, and then there's Sam Leavitt at number 5. And I don't have a huge problem with that. I'll tell you why. Leavitt did some really good things at Arizona State, including go 16-4 as a starter. Obviously, he's very athletic. Obviously, he's made some big throws. He's made a lot of big plays. He's won some big games, played well against Texas Tech, played poorly against Mississippi State. You've seen the numbers. You've seen the ups. You've seen the downs. If he's healthy, I look at Sam Leavitt and I say, what would be the detraction from Leavitt's game that would not allow him to play at the level that really all of Kiffin's quarterbacks play at? Chambliss played great out of nowhere. He didn't even have a spring, and he was awesome. I think you had really good quarterback play from Jackson Dart. I thought Matt Corral played great at quarterback. And while, yes, you've seen some professional success from Dart, it's not like this is Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl in year 2. It's not like you're talking about a guy who won Rookie of the Year. It's not like you're talking about a guy that's got some physical skill set that is just not replicable. It's not Michael Vick or Cam Newton out there. These are just average size, average arm, quality athletes that have gotten into that system and have produced year over year over year. And yes, some of them have Quinshon Judkins, and yes, some of them have Kejuan Lacey, and some of them have Trey Harris, and some of them have there are playmakers around them, but it's not like anything that Kiffin had at Ole Miss you would look at and go, yeah, well, Leavitt doesn't have that. He's got talent at wide receiver around him. They brought in a potential first-rounder at left tackle to protect his blind side. He's got a 4th-year starter center. You've got capable running backs and the same play caller in Charlie Weiss Jr. I just feel like, and I talked about this with Blake Baker's defense yesterday, when you look at the S&P Plus numbers and you look at what that defense could look like and you realize that you trust the coaching staff to elevate it, well, I feel the same way about this with Kiffin and Leavitt. I just feel like you're going to get a bump here because he's got everything in the toolbox that you're going to need. If he gets closer to 2nd or 3rd on this list, well, all of a sudden you've got one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC on one of the more talented rosters in the SEC, and you could have a pretty special season. I'm struggling with where to be overly skeptical on Levitt outside of basically two things. One, is he still hurt? I have no reason to believe he's hurt. Lane Kiffin said on Tyrant's podcast that he was running 21 miles an hour. And then I heard that from someone inside the program that Levitt was out with the team in the offseason activities, running around the field, throwing the football, participating fully. At that point, it was June. It's now July. You have 2 months before he plays his first game. I don't think that health is a huge concern right now. The other is the performances against Mississippi State. Those were bad performances. But quarterbacks are allowed to have bad performances. You can't have a lot of them, and he probably doesn't need to have many this year. But I don't think that's an indictment on him for the rest of his collegiate career, that he had a couple of Saturdays where he just wasn't very good. And, oh, by the way, they won one of those games. So they've got Levitt ranked ahead of Lenora Sellers, and we know what he did early on in his career. They got him ahead of Marcel Reed, who had a team primed to make the playoff last year that did get in. And I understand they were terrible on offense in Austin. They were terrible on offense against Miami. But Marcel Reed has done some really good things, and they've got Levitt ranked in front of him. Byron Brown is very, very accomplished at a lower level at USF, but they've got him in there at number 8. Kamario Taylor, big-time talent from Mississippi State, comes in at 9. Kenny Minchie from Kentucky comes in at 10. Now, keep in mind, this is the point in the article. I'll just go through it in my head with you. I realized at 10 that I had gotten to an Alabama quarterback yet, and I just got to Kentucky, which felt odd. Felt real odd for me to go through a top 10 SEC quarterback and not have Alabama's quarterback on the list. And I realized they don't know who their quarterback is. There is a competition. You've got a transplant from Washington that you had brought in for Kalen DeBoer, and you've got a former 5-star. And those two guys are going to duel that. And we'll see. I think Keelan Russell's going to win that job, but I don't know. But that's just a team and a program that you just always expected to have the next guy at every position, and they just don't in this instance. And you've got Kentucky and Mississippi State on this list. By the way, Florida, not on the list. Missouri, not on the list. So it's a situation where if I'm comparing LSU to the rest of the league, I feel like at this point you've got a quarterback that should be able to allow you to compete when you pair him with all those tools around him and that coaching staff that has done so much with quarterbacks who have some similar characteristics. I wouldn't suggest that Matt Corral and Sam Levitt are identical twins, or that Trinidad Chambliss and Sam Levitt are exactly the same. But you do kind of get the comparison. None of them are 6'5" or 6'6". None of them are 5'9". None of them have Jamarcus Russell or Zach Mettenberger's arm. None of them completely rely on their feet. All of them are capable of using their feet. I feel like you've got a skill set you can really use. He took care of the ball late in his Arizona State time there. He made plays on the ground, made plays through the air. Yeah, he had Jordan Tyson at one point, but he's going to have talented receivers here. I feel good about LSU's quarterback entering fall camp. I did last year too, when he got hurt and they couldn't throw the ball at all. But I look at that and I like the fact that this is something that's coming out of beyond our purple and gold bubble. I talk about that all the time. It's a situation where we live in a bubble, and when you get an opinion from outside of it, it can oftentimes lend a different perspective. I like this one, and I think Sam Levitt is going to be a really good player for LSU this year, and I think he's set up for success, assuming he's healthy, which I have every reason to believe that he is. And we'll see what Lane Kiffin has to say about that in Tampa in a couple of weeks. If you're looking for LSU football content, you can find it at Hunt on LSU on YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts as well. We've got an in-depth chart series going right now. Did the entire offense. We've knocked out the defensive line thus far. Did edge rushers today. Defensive tackles was yesterday. So if you're looking for that LSU football fix and you'd like to check that out at LouisianaSports.net for free, you can certainly do that. Chugging along here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. All right, a soccer segment is coming from the non-soccer guy. I will make no attempt to break down games. I'm just going to give you what the guy who never watches soccer ever has noticed in this World Cup. Some of it's good, some of it not good. Talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. Been trusted here in South Louisiana for 116 years. 116 years. If you do something for that long, you know what you're doing. They've grown to 25 locations. There's always one near you in Southeast Louisiana, whether you're in Lafourche Parish, Terrebonne, over in Hammond, or over in St. Tammany. Maybe you're at Jones Creek or Dutchtown. Maybe you're in Metairie. Anywhere in Southeast Louisiana, there's a First American Bank and Trust right there. It's a community partner of yours. You're looking for a commercial loan, First American Bank and Trust. Looking for a personal loan, First American Bank and Trust. Bank local with the group that's been here since 1910. That's First American Bank and Trust.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
It's hot out there, y'all. It's going to be hot out there for a couple of months. So if you're looking to practice some baseball, practice some softball, don't want to do it in the brutal heat and humidity, go inside of Marucci, into the Hitter's House. Become a member at the Hitter's House. You can get in there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, take some swings, get some pitching done, work on your game, beat the heat. That's the best thing about it. So be a member over at Marucci. Get that key card access so you can work on your game 24/7. We got a youth baseball player or a youth softball player. Let them use it whenever they possibly can. And also remind you can go take tours and learn how they became the official bat of Major League Baseball over there at Marucci. They're proud to offer you a tour, and that tour is going to get you discounts in the Hitter's House as well. So go by and see them all there at Marucci. All right, y'all, I think are aware. Like, I'm not a soccer fan. I'm not going to watch the Premier League. I did not play the game at a high level. The end of my soccer career as a youth was that we went down to Lafayette for a tournament. We're the Shreveport team, and one of the kids kicked a corner kick and curved it in the goal. I was like, well, I'm back to basketball, baseball, and football. Like, we're done with soccer here. So I never was good at it. Like, it's just not my thing, and that's okay. But I'm coming at it from that perspective. I can't name any of the players. I got Messi for you. Neymar was a name I remembered. He was out there
He played
yesterday.
Yeah. Mbappe from France?
I had heard of him, but I didn't know it was from France. I can probably name like 6 guys in the World Cup. I can't name a single player on the Team USA. I haven't watched the USA kick a ball yet.
Wow.
It's just not. I didn't make time for it. I was at the beach for a lot of it. It's just not my thing. But I don't hate it. I just don't care about it. I don't. And I'm happy for people that do like it. And so there, I think, are some good things about the World Cup. And I did take the time over the weekend. I watched a lot of England and Mexico. I watched a lot of Brazil and Norway, and I watched a little bit of France, Paraguay. Okay. So I've watched like 2.5 games. And I have some takes from the non-soccer guy on the World Cup. And I want to start with the good, because I don't want to be the guy who just comes on and just starts bitching and complaining that I hate soccer and this all sucks. There's some of the stuff I don't like, and I'll get to it, but I'll start with the good stuff. The crowds and the city invasions are outstanding. Having massive swaths of proud country folks coming into New York and Philly and Seattle and Mexico City and Miami and Houston, like, that is really cool. The face paint, the chants. I was watching USA singing Country Roads. I've seen that stuff on video, but I watched the England game. They're singing Wonderwall with the fans. Yeah. That was great stuff.
Yeah.
I love that. So that, I think, is fantastic. I think, to add on to that, the American pride that I have seen on social media, where there is no pride whatsoever in America on social media for 99% of it. It's just everyone bitching back and forth about how much they hate everything and everyone and every other opinion. And now everybody's just fired up to watch them kick a ball in a net.
Yep.
I think that's great. I'll take that all day long. I thought the England-Mexico game was awesome to watch.
Classic.
There was drama. There were goals. There was action. I thought that there was hard play. I thought the environment was great. I liked the whole thing there. I thought Brazil and Norway was awesome. That dude that had the 2 goals for Norway, that guy's incredible. It's just incredible stuff. Thought that was fantastic. And the last thing here is, I haven't watched any of it. I don't even know if they're still in the tournament, honestly. I think they are. But Messi scoring a lot of goals early in the tournament, that's great. He's potentially the greatest player of all time.
Yeah.
For him to still show up, be a star, I have respect for that, and I have admiration for that, and I think that's a great, great thing. That's a lot. There's a lot of positive here of the World Cup, and I am pro World Cup. I'm probably going to watch tonight. I'm still never going to watch the Premier League on Saturday morning. I'm not watching Man City and Liverpool or something. That's not going to happen. But I'll probably watch tonight. I think it's great. I hope Team USA kicks ass tonight. I think that'd be awesome. Here's some bad. And this was going to be so much a worse segment if I had done what I thought I was going to do. If I had just watched France-Paraguay,
you'd have been let down.
and then turned it off and then came in here today, I would have said all of you who are watching this need to be put in an asylum because this is the stupidest thing I've ever watched in my life. That game that I watched was an embarrassment to competition at all levels. All I saw for the entirety of that game was people determining where they could fall down to gain an advantage in the game.
Yeah.
Foul, foul, foul. These guys who were probably 6'1", 200 pounds, they get tapped on the knee, and it looks like they got shot in war. And not only do they fall down, they're grabbing their knee and screaming in agony. When everyone can watch the replay and go, you just barely got tapped. And they're just falling down, and then they get up and they're yelling at the ref. We're playing soccer over here, and this guy's just crying to the ref. It was just an abomination. And the thing I do not like about this sport that I just can't shake free from is that if you fall down in the right spot, which he fell down in the penalty area, you get a free goal. It's a free goal. It's a free goal. It's almost impossible to score a goal in this sport.
The PKs? Yeah.
And you get a free goal. That drives me nuts. And the guy, if they just need to have one meeting. And trust me, I've watched LeBron play basketball. I've watched Shai Gilgeous-Alexander play basketball. I know that things happen on football with wide receivers selling calls and stuff. This is not just a soccer thing, but it is out of control in some of these games I watch. And you just sit down and say, if you do this, and we go back to this VAR, which we have, and you're out. I realize they have flopping and taking a dive and all that kind of stuff, but it's out of control. That game was unwatchable. They continued to fall down for no reason.
Can I just give some context on that game? So I'm happy you watched the real games last night.
I'm glad I watched more.
So the Paraguay-France thing, to add into context for people that don't understand the World Cup, Paraguay, let's just say, that's like when Nickel State played LSU. So you have France is the LSU. They are the supreme power. They're the best team in the world right now. Even though Argentina just won the last World Cup, France got the All-Stars. They're the All-Star team. So Paraguay, they were playing this tactic called park the bus. We're just gonna play defense. We're just trying to make it grimy, nasty, because if we get into an actual skill competition with France, we're gonna get embarrassed out here. Mm-hmm. So putting it in perspective of Nickel State trying to run the clock out on LSU, all right, we're just trying to make it grimy. We're just trying to get up out of here. So that's why it was nasty like that. So that's why. But
I understand that. I understand that concept of running clock and kicking the ball out of bounds and falling down and all that kind of stuff. But it just, I know that these are strong, young, healthy dudes that are just going down in a heap. Yeah. And that's rewarded in a lot of senses. And France won the game because a guy went down. And look, they said on the thing that's a foul. But it shouldn't be, because he wasn't going to score, and he shouldn't have been. He should have held his ground. I watch football for a living. These guys can stand up when they get crushed going over the middle. It's just that part drove me nuts. And to compound this, it's a soft culture that we have in this sport. It starts with that stuff, but then it goes to the constant complaining to the officials. It goes to Neymar kicking a PK in when they're getting their butts kicked and then going to yell at the goalie. That is soft Charmin stuff. Canada's coach said they were better than Morocco after they lost 3-0. Brother, that in football is 63-3. Yeah. You were not better. You were way worse. You were embarrassed on that field. That's awful. At home. And then Belgium's entire handling of this thing is soft as Charmin. It's so I understand the entirety of the situation. I will admit I don't understand the rule. I don't know what constitutes a red card and what doesn't. That didn't look like a flagrant act to me.
It wasn't.
It certainly wouldn't be in football or.
It's like a targeting.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah. It would not be in football. It would not be in basketball. Contact way worse than that goes free. And I realize football is a contact sport with pads, but it's what we got here. But it didn't feel like he maliciously tried to injure somebody.
He didn't.
it felt like, okay, they give a red card and he's out for the next game, and then they said, well, that's not good. There's appeals processes in every sport we have over here. So that's what if you throw at somebody's head in baseball, we can appeal that. Now, you lose most of the time, and I think that's what they're upset about. There are appeals, but they're never overturned. But, like, if you take yourself seriously, you don't need to be complaining before a game even starts. And it's just soft. Like, this isn't – and look, we talked about this before the World Cup. I was listening to Hanny. Hanny said we don't have a single top 100 player in the world. What the hell are you afraid of? This guy's not one of the 100 best players in the tournament, and now you're scared because he might play? Like, it's soft. Like, everybody's soft. I realize that I'm the guy sitting in the air conditioning, 40 pounds overweight, that's never played a soccer game in his life, saying that everybody's soft, but I'm watching this. You're complaining about everything. You're falling down all the time. We're bitching, complaining, moaning. The whole thing is just soft to me. And I like that. I love the pageantry. I love the good action, which we saw last night. There's a lot of good on this. But the culture of soccer is soft.
Now, Belgium, okay, if it wasn't my team, if it wasn't America, I would probably be upset too, because it is crazy that they're doing this. It's like, I don't think this has ever happened. They're taking a red card away from the World Cup. And the thing is, they're not saying he didn't do it. They're like, oh, he did it. He's not suspended though. So that's why it's like, I get it. If it wasn't my team. Now, if it's America, hey, man, look, it's our country on U.S. soil. Tell Trump put the call in. Trump put the call in. I can't tell you.
That's the other
thing
that's
what
going to nuke Twitter is when Trump gets involved. Then you got all these people from America like, oh, I'm pulling for the other team now. Trump made I can't deal with it.
So,
like, awesome,
I get it. It's bad optics, but look, if we win tonight, I don't care what happens. Look, winner, chicken dinner. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought that was. I thought yesterday was really good. I enjoyed the soccer that I was able to watch when. Maybe it was
game.
Yeah, maybe it was because Blippy and we got a new one, Fire Buds, wasn't on my TV. Yeah, they're Fire Buddies. Fire Buds is the name of it. That's taken over my TV, but it's taken over for Danny Gogo, which was the worst of them all. So
no more Danny Gogo. No, Fire Buds is in.
Fire Buds is in. All right, that's it for soccer on this edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll continue on, close out the hour. Still plenty to do over the next hour and 15 minutes or so. I've got a list of the best college football players of all time by jersey number, and LSU is included in that. When we close out the hour next, we'll talk a little bit about LSU and the baseball editions that they got, one from the high school ranks, one from the transfer portal ranks. We'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com is the website. I mentioned beating the heat for baseball and softball. You can beat the heat for golf, too. So it's warm out there. Maybe you don't want to go out there after work and play. Maybe you don't want to go out there on Saturday afternoon and play, but you'd like to get some swings in, keep your game sharp. Do it at Swing Easy on the simulator. The technology is phenomenal. You can see your trajectory of your shots. You can see your ball speed. You can see your club head speed. You can see where your club face impacts a golf ball. You can see how much you hook or fade the ball. It's all really, really accurate. And if you want to work on your game in that way with those metrics, you can do it. If none of that means at all anything to you and you just rather go play Pebble Beach on the simulator, well, go do that. You can certainly do it over at Swing Easy Golf Club. You can also become a member. They got corporate memberships available, so you can spend some time with clients there or just get a personal membership so you can pop in before work or during your lunch break and stay out of the heat. At Swing Easy Golf Club on Segan at Perkins, swingeasygcbr.com. Guiding healthcare forward over there at Guarantee Health Solutions. You can find them at guaranteehealth.com, guaranteehealth.com. They bring you our Monday shows. Rachel Fricky does such an awesome job with our team here at Guarantee Health Solutions. And it's born out of personal experience. Her mom was diagnosed with cancer just about a decade and a half ago, and Rachel was there every step of the way in the healthcare system and just noticed how impersonal it was, how uncomfortable and unpleasant it was at times. And she comes from a hotel background in hospitality, and she thought, I could take a hospitality aspect to this and really make a difference. And they have at Guarantee Health Solutions. So if you're in the healthcare space, whether you've got an urgent care, you've got private practice, a dental office, hospital, and you haven't given consideration to your patient's journey, whether that starts on your website, have you made that as accessible as possible? Have you made that as user-friendly as possible? How many clicks to care for you? And to when they walk in the door and how they're greeted, how they're guided through that appointment, whether or not they're given instructions when and where to come back. Do they make those follow-up appointments? all those are things that the folks at Guarantee Health Solutions are happy to help you with. They can help you with marketing. They can help you with finding a location. They can help you with digital advertising. They can help you with your website. All there to make sure that your patient experience is the best it can possibly be. They've elevated Net Promoter Scores significantly in short spans of time at Guarantee Health Solutions. So reach out at guaranteehealth.com. That's guaranteehealth.com. All right, LSU didn't just add a bat last week into their roster on a baseball perspective. They also grabbed an arm. Went to grab Caden Smith, who is a right-hander who worked his way into a starting role at South Florida this past year. He began his career at TCU, where he made 14 appearances. But last year was 4-3 with an ERA of 4.24. He threw 46.2 innings of work, and his best outing of the season came against UAB through 7 shutout innings. But he only completed the 5th inning one other time. In those 46 2/3, he struck out 52, walked 25. He's 6'2", 190 pounds. His fastball's been clocked up to 97 miles an hour. It usually sits closer to 94, 95. I saw a story that Aaron Fitt wrote about him last summer on Cape Cod, where he really liked the high spin rate on the breaking ball from Smith, and obviously the fastball velocity is what it is. I think this screams right-handed reliever to me when you look at arms like, and I don't mean in far impact, but I mean in terms of frame and pitch repertoire. I think of Connor Benj. I think of Grant Fontenot. Fontenot became a high-leverage reliever, and Benj never really became that. But it's a 6'1", 6'2", right-handed, mid-90s fastball, hard slider. Like, that's what Caden Smith has, and that's kind of what you're looking for out of the bullpen. So I think this is a bullpen arm for LSU. I would expect him likely to begin the season as a high-end bullpen arm. He's not completely dissimilar. He's a little bit shorter than Marcos Paz, who is really a two-pitch pitcher. I think Paz probably has a little bit more upside because he's younger and he's a little bit taller and he's coming off Tommy John, and there's just a more projectable frame there. But this is a kid who did a nice job in different roles this past year at South Florida and could come in and help. Now, they've added guys, coincidentally, from that area, like Chandler Dorsey was a guy that came from there that it didn't quite work out in Baton Rouge. Grant Fontenot was like that the first time around before he came back. And so the walk numbers are a little bit higher than I'd like. The strikeout numbers are good. The metrics on the pitches are very good. So this is another ad. They never really went out and found that left-handed arm. And there were a couple that I liked. There was a Michigan left-hander that ended up at Vanderbilt that I thought she had a chance, but you just didn't see that impact guy. I didn't see Gage Jump out there this year. I didn't see, obviously, Liam Doyle out there this year. And those are the guys that I talked to y'all about in April and early May when you were looking at this team and looking at the guys they could potentially lose and looking at what you might want to bring in the portal. And I pointed out a lot of different SEC aces that have come in and just been great pitchers at different places throughout the conference, like Liam Doyle, like Zach Root at Arkansas, like Hurston Waldrop over at Florida. I mean, there's been tons of them. I mean, you've seen them all over the place. And I figured those guys would just be available because they always are. And I think Landon Hood was really, really good. And I know that LSU believes that he was the best pitcher on the market in terms of the transfer portal. And that's one guy. I was hopeful that there would be a lefty ad because when I look at LSU's pitching staff right now, I look at Schmidt, I look at Evans, I look at Landon Hood, I look at Reagan Ricken, I look at those guys, and Paz was included in this before he transferred out, but I look at those guys and I see a bunch of 6'3" right-handers with 95-mile-an-hour fastballs and sliders. Now, look, Evans has a really good changeup, so that's a little bit different. And Ricken's a little bit taller and throws from a little bit different arm slot. And Schmidt comes over the top and has a bigger breaking ball. So, it's not like they're all the same, but there are a lot of similarities. And I would just loved a different look here or there. Maybe it's even like a Sunday guy that comes in that is a starter. He's not an SEC ace. He's not a guy that is gonna be a second round pick like Jump was, but just a guy that can come in and get some outs, be a different look the third day of a series instead of the big arm right-handers who you've been looking at. And I think that's something I would have liked to seen added. And you still could get some left-handed help from your high school class. It's unlikely that Logan Schmidt ends up at LSU, I think, but he's certainly would help. He's left-handed and throws 97 miles an hour. And I'm going to get into the entire signing class later on this week and talk to you about who I think they're going to get, who I think they're really going to sweat, who I think they're not going to get. And last year, my information was really good, so I'm confident that it will be again this year. But I think right now, I have not really broken down the high school class with y'all at all because I just don't feel the need when you're talking about the roster, which is what I'm doing right now, talking about those kids until they get through the draft. Because they're just, if there's 8 kids that don't end up at LSU, we've wasted time on talking about 8 players. I'm going to talk about them as a class this week, but not the roster. Because it's like, I bet most of you driving around or listening to this cannot name one kid LSU did not get in last year's draft. Like, the only name that a lot of y'all would be able to toss out is Connor Griffin. There are more, but that's the one guy that was such a high-profile name that a lot of folks can. Now, maybe a lot of you are junkies about this stuff and do know it, but I'm just talking about the general LSU baseball fan doesn't really know the high school kids until February. So we'll talk about them this week as a class, and then we'll talk about the roster as those guys move forward. But I think that this was a nice add in Caden Davis for LSU, but I think he's a right-handed bullpen piece. That's it for hour number 1 here on this Monday. We got a ton to do in hour 2.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Gotro's Outdoor Power. Gotro's Outdoor Power. I was talking to my guy Gant Gotro earlier this morning. They got some awesome stuff to offer y'all in July. 20% off MSRP for Hustler commercial mowers. 20% off MSRP for Hustler commercial mowers. Also, 0% financing for 48 months is available. So if you're looking for a new zero-turn mower, it's grass growing season, it's grass cutting season, and that's not going to end until after Halloween. If you're looking for that, then get on by Gotro's Outdoor Power. They got 2 locations. Of course, they got the one on Airline in Baton Rouge. You're driving down Airline, you look off to the side, you see that mountain of orange inventory. That's them, Gotro's Outdoor Power. They've also got a great location in Gonzales. Been in business for 22 years. Gotro family owns and operates it, and they are happy to help you out. So get on by and see them for incredible deals on Hustler commercial mowers and 0% financing at Gotro's Outdoor Power.